Okay, well, I'm Father Burns. I'm past president of the Ontario Historical Society.
Do you remember any of the projects you worked on when you were president?
Yeah, at that time, the York Pioneers, Ontario Historical Society, we were mostly English speaking. We had a lot of historical societies in English-speaking Canada, but we were not getting up into the north. So part of the time I taught at St. Charles College in Sudbury, and so we're trying to get the Francophone community involved in the Ontario Historical Society. So Société Historique de Nouvelle-Ontario, I think, was the first Francophone society, and I was instrumental because the presidents were Jesuits, and they taught in the Francophone school, Collège Sacré-Cœur, and I taught at St. Charles College in Sudbury, so we had a lot in common. So I managed to get I think the first Francophone historical society in the OHS. Now there's all sorts of them. But, so there was that. It was a time of expansion. We're getting all sorts of societies, local societies, and trying to encourage them to get started and then to join the OHS. I was honorary past president or something or other of the York Pioneers, which was the first historical society in Ontario, and we gave birth to the OHS. Then we were just for Toronto, and the OHS, of course, was Province wide. The year, we're still waiting for the message to get up from downstairs as to when I was the president. It was way back, though. I forget exactly the dates.
Very cool. So how has the society changed since your tenure as president?
Oh, it's expanded to the native people. We have native societies, historical societies now. We have various ethnic societies. Definitely the black community. As a matter of fact, what's the guy? The president of went to our school in Windsor. I don't remember his name. No, but I taught him in Windsor, and anyway, he's the president of one of the black historical societies. How was it influenced? Still very much involved. As a past president, vice president of the York Pioneers Historical Society, the oldest society in historical society in Ontario, and then also the Etobicoke Historical Society. And so we're still trying to get involved in as many societies as we can, encourage them in their work, and it's been very rewarding. Almost every crossroads has got Crossroads has a historical society now. All the East Gwillimbury and all the different Swansea Historical Society and all these, there's societies all over the province now.
Yeah.
So it really has grown. So
what do you think the role of the Ontario Historical Society has been over the past 125 years?
Well, certainly to preserve our history, because the York Pioneers was doing it well for Toronto with Scatting Cabin and the Sharon Temple up in there, but as far as for the province was concerned, there was nobody doing it, and so buildings were being destroyed, cemeteries were being bulldozed. Our heritage was being destroyed until the York Pioneers, I keep getting them until the Ontario Historical Society then took over sort of leadership in preserving our heritage, because that's part of who we are. Our past is our identity. And so then they did get some, the Ontario Heritage Act and the LAC Act, the local government bodies in each municipality in charge of preserving the historical sites and buildings and so on. And that was all due mainly to the pressure from the Ontario Historical Society to make the people of Ontario conscious of their roots, because a lot of people, they're just here and they don't really realize that we do have roots that go back, if you include some of the native people in historical societies, go back thousands of years.
Yeah. Thank you so much for meeting with me today and answering these questions.
No problem.
Yes, I'm Heather Gay Broadbent, and I was the 51st president, and I was the 6th woman.
Wow.
Dorothy Duncan tells me that women weren't included in the society in its early years.
Mm-hmm. So what projects did you work on while you were president?
A great deal of my work was to take a sort of roving conference to what we called LACACs, Local Architectural Conservation Advisory Committees, all over the province, and I ran 7, I think. Some of those were before I was president, but they finished when I was during my presidency. I also wrote an article each Ontario Bulletin about LACACs with their stories.
So what are you most proud of from your time with the society?
Increased membership, I think.
How has the society changed since you were president?
Well, apart from moving into the electronic age, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, it's expanded, and I contribute a lot of its the good work to Dorothy Duncan, and Rob has carried on the good work ever since. I've been very pleased. It has its ups and downs, but it's mainly an up.
Yeah.
Presently. Yeah. Can I say one other thing?
Yeah.
When I came in today and I saw the young people here, I remember thinking quite vividly, they weren't even born when I was president.
Yeah. What do you think the role of the Ontario Historical Society has been over the past 125 years?
Disseminate Ontario's history to an ever-widening audience. I'd like to see greater efforts towards newcomers. I was only here 12 years when I was president, and that apparently was a big deal. I got my leg pulled. I wasn't allowed to be president until I'd been here 25 years, but I'd been elected, so it was too late. But no, I work in that anyway, to encourage newcomers to be aware of Ontario's history.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
My name is Dennis Carter Edwards. My term of office was from May of 1992 until June of 1993.
So what projects did you work on while you were president?
Well, it's interesting. I had an opportunity to go back and review some of the correspondence. I have a few letters and some of the material from my term as president. And there were very pressing issues, but they all related to what I think is the prime mandate of the Ontario Historical Society, which is to preserve the province's both built and intangible history, and to promote public awareness and appreciation of that history. Looking through my correspondence, we had issues dealing with building preservation. There were a couple of buildings that were under threat, and as president I was directed by the board to write letters to the appropriate ministers. We had an issue on the Cemeteries Act, an important part of Ontario's heritage, intangible in some respects, but very important, and changes to the Cemeteries Act largely been done without a lot of consultation from the heritage community, and so I was directed again by the board to write expressing our concern and highlighting the kind of issues we wanted to see addressed. I have the correspondence back from the minister that said we will be developing regulations and standards for the application of the new law, and we will certainly be consulting with the heritage community. So we had preservation, we had promotion. I have a letter actually I wrote and a reply from Bob Ray as Premier of Ontario expressing, again on behalf of the board, concern over changes to the history curriculum in schools and the reduction of the history content of the school program. And again, I wrote to the appropriate officials expressing our concern that enough history rather than reducing should be enhanced. So it was preservation, it was promotion, all those issues. Policy was another important one. We began a discussion with ministry staff on the Minister's Advisory Committee on New Heritage Legislation. So there were a number of initiatives that were very pressing and important, but also I think spoke to the long tradition of the Ontario Historical Society, which, as I said, was to preserve and promote appreciation of the province's history.
Very cool. So what are you most proud of with your time with the society?
Oh, there were many achievements, but I think the one that I take most pride in was our annual conference, which we organized in Peterborough in the summer of 1993. And it was focused on the theme of medicine and healthcare. And the only time in the OHS's history we actually had 3 streams as part of the conference. We had a history theme, a stream, which was of interest to local historical societies. We had a museum stream with papers on museum issues regarding medicine and medical issues. And we had an archival stream that dealt with things like confidentiality, access, preservation of medical records. We had a great turnout in Peterborough, an appropriate place, a very strong medical history. In fact, one of the city's museums is Dr. Hutchison's house, which was built by the citizens of Peterborough in 1837 to keep Dr. Hutchison from moving his practice to Toronto. So if there's ever a case where history repeats itself, here we are in the 20th century trying to keep our doctors, and in the 18th century they were doing the same thing. So we had a great conference, we made money, we had a very good turnout, and I think set a real high water mark. So that's one of the accomplishments that I'm very proud of.
Very nice. I have one last question for you. What do you think has been the role of the Ontario Historical Society over the past 125 years?
Oh, that's an interesting question, and I think many ways that the role has been as the original organizers and founders of the vision, and that was to encourage local societies, because the OHS is not all of Ontario. It really is an amalgam of all the local societies, organizations. We heard this afternoon that there are over 640, I believe, individual institutions, organizations that are under the umbrella of the Ontario Historical Society. So from the very beginning, they saw it as kind of an umbrella organization that would collectively press for appropriate legislation to protect significant monuments and buildings and sites in the province, and to encourage a better understanding and promotion of it through publications, school programs, ceremonies, special events. And so I think at its heart, the Society has retained those early goals set out by the pioneers of the Society. Its publications is probably one of its real legacies, and as we heard again today, the initiative to mark the 125th anniversary of having all of the occasional papers and then the Ontario History Journal put online and making it accessible for scholars and those interested, I think is a wonderful initiative and a very important way to mark the 125th anniversary. It will leave a real legacy. So I think that's a great project, and it's very much in keeping with what the Society has done in the past.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
It's my pleasure, and it was a pleasure to be here for the 125th. I recognized a few people. I think I'm still recognizable. We've all aged over the years, but it was wonderful to be here as part of the 125th anniversary. So thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
My name is Rowena Cooper, and I was president of the Ontario Historical Society in 1997 through to the spring of 1998.
Very cool. So what projects did you work on while you were president?
Mostly it was the John Mackenzie House, because we just moved in. I can remember physically going home from working in the basement, covered in grey brick dust, which of course always adds something. Both my husband and I went home looking like that a number of times. We were fundraising because we had to restore the house, and we wanted to restore it in a proper manner, and I think we did.
So what were you most proud of with your time with the Society?
I think all the work we did with local societies, with going out to small historical societies to visit, to help them where they had perhaps run into a bit of trouble, and I think it was just, that was very rewarding, because we went out and we met everyone across the province, and of course there isn't the money to do that now.
Yeah.
So it was definitely getting out there and meeting people all over Ontario.
So how has the Society changed you since your tenure as
Oh, I'm not sure that it's really changed all that much. No, I think that at heart, the present board and all the boards that have gone through since I was president and since I was on the board have at heart had history sort of right here.
Mm-hmm.
You have to preserve the history of anywhere, and especially a province, to know where you're going.
Yeah.
And the Ontario Historical Society fulfills that role.
I have one last question for you today, and it is what do you think the role of the Ontario Historical Society has been over the past 125 years?
Well, just what I said. We get out there, and also the fact that we're able to affiliate societies under our umbrella, which means that they're able to be incorporated for a far lesser fee than if they had to go to Lloyd to do it. And that, of course, enables them to raise funds, to, if they get a charitable tax number, to give charitable tax receipts.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think this digitization program that's going on now, I think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Because the more that's available online, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if it's Ontario history and the papers and records, because they are such a valuable resource.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking time to meet with me today.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
My name is Dr. Bryan Walls, and I'm a proud past president of the Ontario Historical Society, and honored to be here on this 125th celebration.
So when did you serve as president?
It was in the latter 90s, and it was one of the life experiences that I look back on. And I'm from Windsor, which is about a 4-hour drive from here, and when I heard of this opportunity to say acclimates to the Ontario Historical Society, my wife and I drove down that 401, and here we are.
So what projects did you work on while you were president?
When I was president, we had certainly a standard assignment, protocol, objectives and projects dealing with cemetery matters, dealing with growing our affiliate membership, which is now up to 830 members all through the province. And then we certainly worked in the area of partnership with museums and other provincial organizations such as the Ontario Black History Society, the great president Rosemary Sadler, and then also we involved ourselves with the Ontario Genealogical Society, which has a special interest in my heart as a writer and author of a book that deals with my ancestors' journey on the Underground Railroad from Rockingham County, North Carolina to Ontario, Canada in 1846, titled The Road That Led to Somewhere. In fact, it's used in the Ontario Historical Society's on its website as a teaching resource under the category of freedom and seeking freedom. And I'm very proud of that.
What are you most proud of from your time with the society?
Well, I'm very proud of the fact that I'm the first black president of the Ontario Historical Society, which was founded in 1888 by Reverend Scaddy, and I could bring to the position a sense of the importance that Ontario has evolved into in terms of diversity and multiculturalism. I feel that my background of coming from freedom fighters that ran through the woods at night, hid by day, followed the North Star on the Underground Railroad to Canada. I felt that I was able to continue that legacy and do it in a wonderful, peaceful way and a creative way through the Ontario Historical Society and its affiliate members, and I'm very, very proud of it.
How has the society changed you since your tenure as president?
Well, it's grown. In fact, I've learned some things today from the Lieutenant Governor and related to the wonderful work on the website, and then there's a 125th anniversary project that will be certainly another cornerstone of the Society's great work. And I feel that one of the things that continues to to be a thread running throughout the Ontario Historical Society is that, as Pablo Casals once said, the capacity to care is the thing that gives life its greatest significance. And I can see that the Ontario Historical Society, as it was when I was president and other presidents that I had the honor to work with, cares about our province, and that's evidenced by you being here. You know, from students from what's the name of your high school again?
Waterdown
District High School.
Yeah.
You know, you're the future leaders, and you know, we want to pass the baton, if you will, to you, and let you appreciate that the fact that history is just another way of saying his story or God's story.
Yeah. So I have one final question for you. What do you think has been the role of the Ontario Historical Society over the past 125 years?
I think that the role the first word that would come into my mind is leadership. You know, we have been a society that says we can do rather than we can't, and that it's important for future generations to appreciate I have the Order of Canada, and the motto of the Order of Canada comes into my mind. Desiderantes Valorium Patrium. They desire a better country. And I know the Ontario Historical Society, and I know the people that I work with and those who are presently in charge appreciate the fact that history, celebrating it, is a way of letting present and future generations know that we can make a better country.
Thank you so much for talking to me today.
You're welcome. I'm Bryan Osborne, Professor Emeritus at Queen's University. I was past President of the Ontario Historical Society and the Kingston Historical Society, and Vice President of the Royal Canadian Geographical Society.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. So when did you serve as President of the Ontario Historical Society?
2004, 5, 6, around there somewhere.
Oh, okay.
I was on council before, then I was Vice President, then I was past President. So I was involved for about 6 or 7 years indirectly, but 2 years as President, I think around 4 or 5.
Okay, so do you remember the projects you worked on when you were President?
The one that I inherited and then I passed on was the Frederick Banting estate problem the Society had, and it was a problem of how to manage the memory of Banting and the property that we bequeathed. And I was in the middle of it when I stepped down. It was very much a total domineering issue for the 2 years I was there. And subsequent presidents resolved the problem, and it's now handled that the Banting farm that we inherited is still being protected, and I think the Society has reconciled its relationship with the family. But that was the main problem, the main issue. Mm-hmm. If you read the annual reports of my presidency, that's something I recommend you do to back up these interviews. I refer to it in my 2 reports as president. That was my main thing.
What was proud of from your time with the Society?
Well, I suppose I was most proud of that in a way, that I kept the Society together under a difficult situation. But I think I've been told that I created an atmosphere of collegiality on council, and I'm very pleased with the way I interacted with the affiliate members. I would go and travel to meet new affiliate members, and I was very pleased with the way the Society reached out to the affiliate members and brought them into the Society. So it's not just a Toronto-based organization. It had outreach in all of the province, throughout the range of the province.
So what do you think of the role of the Ontario Historical Society has been in the past 125 years?
One of my research interests is the whole concept of identity and national identity. And Canada, I mean, when the Society was formed, we were very much a British colony in the late part of the 19th century. But to develop our own history, our provincial history, create our identity is very much part of our growing provincial national identity, these organizations and societies, to understand our past. And of course, as you know, it's the simple generalization is World War I made us a nation state, Vimy Ridge and all that. But certainly societies like the Ontario Historical Society are part of the fabric of creating a Canadian identity by our research into our history. As the Lieutenant Governor said in the speech this evening, there's a lot of history that makes up for tradition. And I think I'd even go farther and say heritage too, our role in understanding our heritage. So all these different people who are writing the research papers and giving talks and being part of the fabric of our society.
Well, thank you so much for this interview today. It was so nice to meet you.
Good, thank you very much.
So, hi, my name is Bob Leech, and I'm the past president of the Historical Society. I was president in 2010.
So what projects did you work on while you were president?
Well, I think the first project I worked on was the development of a 3-year strategy for the OHS, and getting everybody to agree with it and then using it as sort of the basis for our go forward. I've also worked quite extensively with the financial aspects of the Historical Society, and I have a background in computer systems. And so I'm working quite extensively with the new initiative to digitize much of the historical materials so it'll be available in an electronic form for future generations.
So what are you most proud of from your time with the Society?
Well, I think a little bit on each of those topics. I'm proud that we were able to wind our way through and stay in a stable financial situation. I'm proud of this new project in terms of digitizing all of the history. History really is about information, and it's a good fit. And I think that it'll leave a good legacy for the future.
Yeah. So how has the Society changed you since your tenure as president?
Well, I think it's changed quite substantially. It's changed from business and finance discussions to history discussions, which is a big step in the right direction. And it's changed in terms of an excitement for the future, an excitement in terms of the what we can do with the technology that's available. And of course, the technology will just get better and better and stronger. And so that's quite a bit of change in a pretty short period of time.
I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What do you think has been the role of the Society over the past 125 years?
So I think its role has been preservation of history. History is a little bit like a ratchet. It keeps going forward, but if you ever lose it, you cannot have it back.
Yeah.
And so preservation, whether it be the written form or whether it be defending cemeteries or any of the things historical, I think the main role has been preservation, and I think we've done a pretty good job. And as the society ages, suddenly everybody's interested in history that they weren't so much before, and so it just keeps going forward and growing and getting stronger.
Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today.
Okay, well, thank you.
My name is Brad Chuck, and I'm the current president of the Ontario Historical Society.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So what project have you worked on so far?
I think probably the most significant project is one that we're working on currently, is our 125th anniversary project, in which we hope to digitize all the back issues of Ontario history. That said, during my tenure, we have worked hard to increase our digital footprint. So we put on material on our website, we've upgraded it, we've added material from the War 1912, we've brought in the Readings and Remembrance program, we brought in the Ontario Heritage Directory, made that all online and accessible. So that's been a big part of what we've been doing.
Yeah, so how has the Society changed you since you've been with it?
Changed me? Well, I think I've come from, if you like, the grassroots. I'm a former chair of Heritage Barrie and a former president of the Simcoe County Historical Association. So I think what I like to see is the revitalization of the grassroots. We're bringing on new affiliates in a range of 10 to 12 a year now, and we're growing right across the province, and that's really exciting to see the affiliates coming to the fore, and I'm really glad that we were able to help them with their incorporations.
So I have one last question for you today. What do you think the role is of the Ontario Historical Society over the past 125 years?
Certainly, one of the key things, apart from our leadership in terms of history and heritage, but also the linking of the affiliates. We are truly the umbrella organization for historical societies and associations across the province. We offer that upper tier service. We'd like to offer a great deal more, but I think that we need that kind of central place. And when people have questions, if we can help help them with those upper tier problems, we do our level best to help them. So it's that sense of connection and also just the development of our broader membership.
Okay, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.